Hi, friends, and welcome to the first video podcast of Taurus season 2025. Thank you so very much for being here and supporting my work, my craft, my passion. This is for you. So the sun entered Taurus on the 20th of April and will remain there until the 21st of May. We have a few extremely important planetary interactions happening this season, which I will touch on more anon. But first of all, it's nice to recognize this change of pace with the sun moving from hot, spicy, active, fast-paced Aries, in which we've had a lot of movement, including the Venus and Mercury retrogrades and that famous Neptune ingress into Aries. So moving from this sign of boldness, passion, and self-assertion into Taurus. Taurus likes a full stop. Taurus likes sensibility, practicality, and most of all, Taurus likes being grounded and secure. Sun moving through Taurus is highlighting what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel like your basics are met, whether financially, through your possessions, through your hard work, but most of all, through your own value systems and how strong these values are in the face of life and everything, and also in the face of your own senses of self-insecurity and your own personal self-worth lessons. Now, in Aries, we have the bright birth of new ideas and goals and quests. In Taurus, we solidify it, ground it, make sure it works, make sure it can last the distance, make sure we have what we need to move it forward. Taurus is tough. It can endure. Taurus is the first earth and the first fixed sign of the zodiac. So it's kind of a double whammy of steadfastness and perseverance, which can really aid us during this time. We can really feel more contained, more calm, and more grounded amongst the massive changes we've been moving through. Now, in saying that, the sun is going to be challenged as soon as it enters Taurus because it runs up against a square to Mars, newly re-entered into Leo, and it travels with this Mars as Mars makes the very important third and final Pluto opposition. So the sun is making this very conscious and more personal for us. And because it's in Taurus, it's even making this opposition perhaps manifest or materialize in very literal ways. Enough on that one a bit later, but that Mars-Pluto opposition is the major aspect of this Taurus season, and it's a peppery one. Also this season, we have Mercury exiting its shadow zone, Mars exiting its shadow zone, a very active Venus who will be re-entering Aries and conjuncting Neptune in Aries for the first time ever in fire signs. I will talk about that in my next forecast video. But there is still a lot of fire around and a lot of forward motion and propulsion here, which when you blend it with that overarching sort of ponderous Taurus energy, it can feel uncomfortable just because those energies are so different. But it can also be incredibly productive when you manage to blend them together. Now, uniting the fire and the passion with the grounded, stabilizing, manifesting earth energy can bring really inspiring and enriching results. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to follow along with that energy of Mars for a moment because just after the sun ingressed into Taurus on the 20th of April, Mars made his third and final trine to Neptune. This was at 0 degrees of Aries, Mars at 0 degrees of Leo. Now, this occurred in fire signs, which is the first time ever that this has happened in our lifetime, setting up a whole new cycle of Mars-Neptune interactions. And this is what Neptune has begun with all of the planets because it ingressed into this new sign, first sign of the zodiac last month. And this is working in wonderfully with that 0 degree beginning point again. This trine it's the third and final pass because of that Mars retrograde in Cancer epoch, which many of us are now trying to forget amongst Mars's now blazing glory and expressive, colorful, and sometimes bossy Leo. This is marking the harmonious flow of creative passion with Mars in Leo, with the dreams of what you can be. Neptune in Aries. This is inspiring. So this previously occurred in water signs the first two times. Mars in Cancer, Neptune was in Pisces. And it had to do with your historical, emotional, psychic energies within, teaching you how to have more compassion and love for yourself and for others. That Mars retrograde journey now ends its Neptune story in fire, not water. Fire with a new beginning, because it's that 0 degree, and also because it's that first trine to Neptune in the sign of Aries ever for us. So this is about your ego self and how you may now feel more capable, Aries, or more confident with Leo, in asserting yourself in healthy ways, or accepting your drives and your willpower as things to be honored and respected and acted on. Now, Neptune in Aries, it's giving you a glimmer of the highest or the most whole version of yourself, you, because Aries is the self, and how connecting to that, it just flows so beautifully with your creative drives with Mars in Leo, with the courage to be yourself, with your sovereign right to express yourself and express your desires wholly and healthily. And it's like the fires are burning away that emotional, watery dross and psychic baggage that you've been through in this long Mars retrograde journey, or even longer. Which, remember, this began in October 2024 when he entered his shadow zone. It's been an odyssey, and Neptune in Aries now says, well done, you. This is even kind of a celebratory energy here. But, and this next one is important, we then run into this little Mars squaring the sun the following day on the 21st of April at 1 degrees, in which tempers may be triggered, egos may be clashing, desires may be conflicting. Sun in Taurus wants to go step by step, only progressing and only expressing where and when and how it knows is secure and productive. Whereas that Mars in Leo just wants to play, take the risk, follow the passion, express, create, however and wherever that takes shape. And it may feel like a slightly confining energy when you don't want to be confined. You want to be finally unleashed. But the sun is also ruling Mars at this point because it rules Leo. So Mars is really under orders from this sensible sun in Taurus. And with this square, it kind of doesn't like that. This is where even your independence may be feeling a little curbed as well. The sun goes on to square Pluto in Aquarius on the 24th of April at 3, nearly 4 degrees of Aquarius. This is important, this interaction, and so is that Mars square sun back on the 21st, because this is playing in directly to the Mars-Pluto opposition that I mentioned at the start, which will be occurring on the 27th of April. Now, the sun is present and in orb of this opposition, which makes this, welcome back, folks, a T-square. This also continues into the Taurus new moon on the 28th of April, which is actually at 7 degrees of Taurus. So it's further along in degrees, but it's still well within orb. And it's in this afterglow of the bombastic Mars-Pluto opposition as well. So it's connected. It's the follow along effect. So it's important to follow this sun in Taurus here. Just backing it up. We were speaking before, 21st of April, that Leo Mars not liking to defer to the sensibility and pace of that sun in Taurus. Then the sun in Taurus on the 24th squares Pluto, kind of warming us up, shall we say, for that opposition. This period of time here, it's really already started, and the most heated, intense period of time begins with that sun's ingress into Taurus. So let's call this time frame from the 20th of April until perhaps the 1st or 2nd of May, when Mars actually finally exits the shadow zone. Things may start to free up or move more smoothly or joyously, and it's like the pressure valve is released. Because of the sun in Taurus's involvement with this Mars-Pluto opposition, that's what's drawing this energy out, okay? And it's also making it feel even more personal, because now we have 2 inner personal planets, not only Mars, but the sun as well, in a challenging aspect to Pluto. So on that 24th of April, that sun squares to Pluto, it's really highlighting, because it's the sun, where you don't feel free in your own power, where you need to end something and transform. Now, this sun wants security, abundance, love, worth. It wants to feel desired, and it wants to feel grounded in its own life. And this square to Pluto in Aquarius is showing you where you may not be, or where you may not feel free to have this. This may be circumstantial from external life forces because it's Pluto, which is an outer planet, or because Pluto does also speak to soul evolution in a very different sense than the nodes do. And this can be a very, very deep internal system or even mentality with Aquarius, like a fixed mentality, because Aquarius is a fixed sign that is challenging you in a way that's slowing or preventing this abundance or worth. Now, Pluto is an outer planet, as I said. So even though it has these two personal planets up against it, because Pluto is the outer planet, it has the final say. And Pluto takes no prisoners. It is the energy of destruction, extermination. Yes, these are confronting words, and I'm speaking to a very personal level, not a collective level. But if you like, you can extrapolate what I'm saying and apply it to the collective and to world circumstances. I'm telling you, as an astrologer, when you do that, things do get very interesting. Anyway, Pluto first says to this sun on the 24th of April, where are you not free to express and be yourself with security and in a grounded material way? Where do you feel, or how do you feel like you're in the underworld or unsafe or small and overpowered when it comes to security of expression, security of identity, abundance of creativity? And this is what must now end. This is also around any sense of unworthiness coming from your own inner value systems, your self-worth, what and how you value yourself and your life. Pluto is coming up and asking for the end to these things that are not for your benefit, things that now need to come to the natural close of the natural cycle and for you to transform. Because this Sun-Pluto interaction, it's all leading to Mars on the 27th of April, making its final opposition to Pluto. And Mars, remember, is ruled by the Sun in Taurus. Because of this, it's like they're now in a team. They've teamed up because they're now both facing this same existential crisis, this same ultimate big mother issue with Pluto. Now, with this opposition, Mars in Leo is being told, you are being shown who or what is jailing you. And remember, this can most likely is parts of yourself, parts of your deep psyche. And this is the final opposition of 3. So it's the end of the story. And where are you now? What have you learned about being brave, being bold and assertive with your emotional drive when Mars was retrograde in Cancer? And now, how can you apply that now that Mars is in Leo to being bold and brave in just being you, being your brave, bright, sovereign self? Are you going to act on it? And if so, what place are you acting from? This is what is vital, because this is a reactive configuration, the T-square, and it is a high pressure system, especially because these are all fixed signs that do not like movement and change. So things can get intense, frustrating, messy, painful. But this is the final pass, the culmination, and you now have the wisdom here to step out of any ego traps, because Mars in Leo is full of ego. That Mars retrograde journey, though, through the watery depths of Cancer was about integrating your emotional instincts with that conscious ego drive, that conscious action taking part of yourself, and incorporating your feelings, incorporating your matured emotional wisdom. And this was a process in part like a kind of death or ending of that conscious part of yourself that didn't want to know about that world. So this whole Mars-Pluto opposition journey can have been the journey of a type of ego death. I've said this before, because Pluto is about the cycles of life, how things shed, decay, and are renewed through that process. This is evolution and the alchemy of transformation. This Mars, also remember, they just had that 0 degree trine to heavenly inspiring Neptune in Aries, and that is part of the new beginning. As I said, through that shedding of what must now end, what is already dead and gone, there is an acceptance here a requirement for acceptance, if you've been clinging on to something, because these fixed signs are stubborn. They have trouble letting go, and they have trouble accepting when it is time to let go. And that's why this T-square system is so pressurized, because Pluto demands the release. It demands the end. The sun in Taurus is part of this tension here of how to navigate ego reactions by knowing where they come from and being consciously mindful of it. Now, Taurus brings the stability here. And because this sun is the peak of this T-square, it can show how to balance this tension. So ego is a huge part of this week. It's a fixed T-square. So it's about stuckness or stubbornness, not wanting to budge. This can be through pride with Mars in Leo, or it can be through fears of feeling insecure because the sun's in Taurus and Pluto brings up the fears and the shadows. So how to navigate this? If you're experiencing this very strongly, it's an intense period of time, and we'll all be witnessing or experiencing it in different ways. Mars in Leo is reactive, but this Mars in Leo has been retrograde and has made this pass twice before. Once at the beginning of November 2024, and the second one at the beginning of January this year. So now, how you're triggered, how you react. Think back to those dates, start of November 2024, start of January 2025. What was coming up for you during those time periods? Now you may be coming to the final crescendo or the final fading out. Now is the time for that Mars now in Leo to step up and be sovereign, because Leo is a sign of sovereignty. Be your own sovereign self amongst it all by grounding into that solid Taurus energy that trusts the earth. I mean, one of the main Taurus lessons is to learn how to trust, not to be obsessive, possessive, miserly, unwilling to change, all in the name of security, which is understandable because this is survival instincts. Taurus is about the bare basics that you feel you need to survive. This is about trusting that you have all that you need. You are all that you need. You are abundant when you trust that you are abundant. And without meaning to sound reductive here, I'm not just talking about financial difficulties. I'm also talking about your inner resources, your inner fortitude. By leaning into that reactivity, that Herculean ego, that sense of insecurity and being belittled or overpowered, all of that is just brought back down to earth. The anger is tempered with reason. The insecurity is reassured by that Taurian sensibility. And so the challenge to your freedom, Pluto in Aquarius, is about releasing that ego. Not easy. That's what Pluto requires. And remember, Pluto has that final say, because Pluto is squaring the sun, which is your conscious ego identity. It's opposing Mars, which is your conscious assertion of that identity, what propels your conscious self. And these two fiery yang energies are now being required to budge and let go of ego, let go of who you thought you were, even what others thought you were, that was restricting you from freedom, but also from being your true self and feeling secure in your true self without overcompensating and inflating the ego as a defense mechanism, which is a natural default of Mars, and especially of Mars in Leo. It's also the harsh reminder that there are some things totally out of your control. Pluto is about power and control, and particularly about what you don't have control over and never will. For example, others' free will and others' responses. And that's relevant here because oppositions can be seen as a relationship or a relating aspect, or an aspect that speaks directly to another, your interactions with others. So Pluto here says, if you want to be free, Aquarius, you must relinquish control, which the fixed signs don't like. You must shed and accept the cycle, whatever this means to you. That new moon on the 28th of April then starts to ground this into reality as a new beginning, because it's in orb of this T-square still, and it's another supermoon. But I'll talk more about that in another podcast video when we get to it. One of the main lessons of Taurus too, which I haven't really elaborated on, that will be prominent at the new moon and throughout Taurus season, and especially at this Mars-Pluto opposition, is that Taurus rules what you value, your own value systems. This is also what is being challenged here. And the sun in Taurus is your value systems around your sense of identity, your value systems around your inner fire, your creative essence, your very sense of your own uniqueness. Pluto is asking you to get real, and so is the sun in Taurus. What do you value that you consciously cater into your sense of self? And is this authentic? Is this truly you? Or is it something that you program into yourself to feel more secure, or you've had programmed into you? That's a big Pluto in Aquarius question. So basically, no big deal. The very cornerstone foundational values of your own identity system are getting a shake-up. They're being asked to transform. Your values are being challenged into becoming more authentically you during this time as well. So be aware of how you're consciously valuing yourself or not, because this is part of what is being transformed by Pluto. And remember, grounding into that sun in Taurus energy, trusting in your own abundance, trusting in your own fortitude, not flying off the handle, but really settling yourself into a solid sense of sensibility is really going to help during this time. And another handy tip, when we have a T-square, is to integrate the energies of the sign, which is not represented in the configuration. So here we have Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius. So the missing sign to make this T-square a full square is Scorpio. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio, so in terms of alleviating the pressure, this isn't really looking like good advice, because Scorpio is possibly the most intense sign of the whole zodiac, in the way that Pluto is probably the most intense planet. But what Scorpio can teach, which is echoing the lessons of Pluto, is how to be empowered by facing your own inner demons, inner darkness, inner shadows. Scorpio teaches that empowerment comes from knowing and shaking hands with the complexities and the shadows of your own psyche, and utilizing that connection to alchemize your growth and power, your perspicacity, your resilience, because what doesn't kill you can very well make you stronger, even if you don't feel stronger. Just remember that the empowerment and the strength that you have innately in you already. Knowing your strength, trusting in your own power is the missing corner of this T-square here that can really aid you through this Mars-Pluto oppositional energy as well. Okay. So this massively intense time period again, this is from the 20th of April until about the 2nd of May, that these energies are most potent, but we'll be seeing ongoing ripples and implications for a while before and after this exact date on the 27th of April. So with that dominating pretty much this whole time period, on the less intense side of things and on the rather more lovely note, we have a fantastically active Venus throughout this time period as well. And guess what? Venus is the ruler of the sun in Taurus. So there's another layer to this Sun, Mars, Pluto T-square going on, as well as to that Taurus new moon, which is that turning over of a new leaf on all of these endings and self-empowerment beginnings here that I've spoken about. So Venus is going to be prominent at that new moon as well. Venus is still in Pisces. She's moving forward after her retrograde. She's moving through her retrograde zone again, which she won't clear it until mid-May. We've got another about 2 weeks of this. She's having a little fun with Saturn and the nodes first off. So firstly, on the 21st of April, we have this big deal, the other big deal of the season. We have Saturn conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So Saturn is also then opposing the South Node in Virgo as well. Venus will then come along to make her third and final pass over the North Node and Saturn on the 24th and 25th of April. So this is a triple conjunction here in Pisces. Sound familiar? That's because we've had an incredibly Pisces dense time this year with asteroid series, the Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. We have Saturn, the North Node, Neptune, all in Pisces. Venus is kind of beginning the closing out of all this Pisces energy here, because everything is going to move on into Aries soon, but we're not quite there yet. We have Mercury already in Aries again. Venus will enter Aries on the 1st of May. Saturn's going to enter Aries in May as well. We're moving along here, but still tying up loose ends, completing old stories, closing old chapters before we get there. So when Saturn is conjunct the North Node on the 21st of April, this is important, and Venus's interaction with this adds the heart element, the love element. Both Saturn and the nodes are about karma, soul, evolution of life or energy, what have you, whichever you prefer. Saturn passes the North Node once and once only. This isn't what we're used to. We're used to the 3 passes because of the retrogrades, but because the nodes are always moving retrograde due to the rotation of the Earth-Moon-Sun relationship, by the time Saturn goes retrograde next, the nodes will be out of his reach. They will have gone backwards too far, okay? This makes this a one-hit wonder, which makes this energy powerful. Now, this is already a fateful high-frequency connection, and the power of this is channeled through in just one pass here on the 21st of April. But in saying that, Venus is kind of perpetuating the energy a bit because she's coming across these points 3 and 4 days later on the 24th and 25th of April. So this whole energetic signature that I'm covering now is coinciding with the pressurized Sun, Mars, Pluto energy. So this can be a lovely balm to dip into. I do like to call Pisces a soothing balm sometimes because it is a healing sign. Saturn presides over time and karma, action and consequence. He is structure, discipline, mastery, boundaries. In Pisces, he's teaching us this in terms of your dreams and emotional walls, your spirituality and your subconscious patterns. The North Node connection shows you where to go, shows you that the way to wholeness, love, and unity in your life and in yourself is through respect and discipline with Saturn. And I just get that lovely saying, discipline is kindness. And that's because it gives your mind, body, emotion, spirit, energy. It gives it a container to exist in, to be able to function properly. So this connection is working towards your dreams, working towards your wholeness, or re-remembering your wholeness. That's a whole other topic. By putting in your soul work, your energetic dedication to your own highest good, whatever that looks like for you. Now, this conjunction is a blending of energy, so it's seen as beneficial. And this is really about the boundaries that you have around your dreams and which structures and boundaries are healthy, which ones need to fall away and be efficiently recycled. This also applies not only to your dreams, but the subconscious patterns that your psyche is playing out for you in terms of being unhealthy on any level because of that South Node in Virgo. This is habits, ways of being, mindset, whatever it is. So with the Virgo involvement, this can be through hypercriticism, needing to feel in control, looking at the trees instead of seeing the forest, getting lost in the details, over-analysis, and also health and habit that can be linked to these things because it's Virgo. Anything here that's holding you from embodying and embracing your wholeness, your sense of love and compassion, anything that's holding you from your dreams, spirituality, imagination, is being told by Saturn that the walls need to be put up. It's time to drain it away through that South Node. The other thing that I've always had very strongly with this nodal axis with the South Node in Virgo is that many people's jobs, because Virgo rules your craft and your work, are likely to either feel better or worse depending on which side of this axis you're on. So you may feel with Saturn a crystallization of what you're doing in terms of success and fulfillment in where you're heading, whether with your job or otherwise. Or I think for a lot of us, the reality is really going to hit because Saturn is reality in terms of what just has to leave now, South Node, because this lifestyle, this job, these habits, this way of being on this earth, whatever it is, it's not healthy for you anymore. It doesn't feel good with Pisces. It doesn't align with your well-being. Perhaps this has always been the case and you're being hit with it now, or maybe you're only starting to feel this now, but it will be hitting around this time, 21st of April. You may even sense in a very realistic physical way what you do want to go for in the world to work on next or to master next that's actually healthy for you on all levels, from physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. You may encounter or experience very literal manifestations of your dreams or your bliss. Take that as you will. So with Venus, getting back to Venus, coming into the mix here a few days later on the 24th and the 25th of April, hitting North Node and Saturn, She's showing you where your values, any values around your levels of compassion, understanding, and acceptance, and how you both share this and extend it towards yourself and your life outlook. Your values, this is about having more compassionate values here. This is a balm to that strong sun in Taurus interacting with Mars and Pluto, because remember, Venus is ruling the sun. So holding compassion, patience, understanding, love for yourself, and infusing that into your life outlook and into what and how you value. It's really, I'm just getting, it's really going to keep you afloat here. Okay, so if you're experiencing any of these really cutting energies, the pressure, the anger, the tension, infusing your value system to incorporate holding more compassion and understanding for yourself is really something that's going to help. And deferring to this Venus in Pisces, it's like she's holding out her hands. She's got Saturn with her, making this stable container. She's got the North Node with her, which is the beacon of direction. And she's holding out her hands and she's saying, come this way, follow where love takes you, follow where your bliss takes you, follow your heart, trust in your soul knowing, and work towards that, Saturn, work towards it. So it's like a merging of that heart knowing and that soul knowing. And Sun in Taurus being ruled by Venus could be manifesting this very literally in your life, in your body. You may feel an urge to escape because it's Pisces, and even escape via the senses because it's Taurus, retail, food, finery. This can be a nod to the fact that it's okay to treat yourself. It's okay to feed your bliss. Saturn advises moderation. North Node advises for your own good, not just for your escape down the rabbit hole. Now, of course, Venus is also about relationship and how and what you love and how you relate. And with the final pass to the North Node, this is really a fateful direction in terms of your relationship. Any relationship, if you aren't in a partnership, the relationship with yourself. It could even be a fateful turn in how you relate, or a fateful turn in your values around relationship itself. Saturn here is commitment and work. So there could be a finalization of a process in your relationships. And remember again, this can also very well be your relationship to yourself, which is your first and foremost relationship in this life, of course. So this is committing your heart to your good, committing your heart to what you know is in alignment with your wholeness, with your highest values, with your soul. I know some people don't like the term soul contract. So if you prefer, you can call it like an energetic contract that you have with someone in your life, if you don't vibe with the whole soul jam thing. But soul contracts or energetic contracts, they're either going to be fully consolidated or fully relinquished, depending whether it is or isn't in alignment with your health, well-being, your own divinity, your wholeness, and higher good. So this is a good time to shed unhealthy relationship and to commit to healthy ones that are in alignment with your energy, your frequency, with that higher self, inner self. And this is really further honed in on when Venus in Pisces makes her third and final pass to trine Juno retrograde in Scorpio, now at 28 degrees. So this will be on the 27th of April again, the same day as that Mars opposition to Pluto. Juno is the marriage asteroid. I don't like that. Juno can literally be your contracts, your commitments, your shared resources and investments. And this can be business, marriage, a blend of both. This is a harmonious aspect for trine. So this is finalizing what you know empowers you within agreements, within relationships. This is powerful relationships. This is a very strong emotionally bonded relationship with these water signs here, and especially with Scorpio, which when invested once will be invested forever. Venus in Pisces can be healing any pain or trauma around toxicity in relationship, any inability to release a relationship, any poison around your ability to trust others. This is being able to trust by being in right relationship. These are the lessons of both Venus and Juno. Juno teaches this by holding to and trusting your own sovereignty. She's the queen of heaven, remember. And Venus teaches this by holding to your sense of what is fair, balanced, and just within your interactions and what is aligned with your own values. Okay. So even though this time period is intense and fiery, you may have a sense of flow and peace in the wings, even just a sense of knowing that what is unfolding, it's leading to your peace and empowerment with this background feed of the Pisces bliss and love. And we'll definitely have more freedom and joy and movement once Venus re-enters Aries on the 1st of May, and then Mars exits his shadow zone finally on the 2nd of May. But I'll talk about those fiery energies in my next forecast. The last thing to say here is that Mercury is exiting his retrograde shadow zone on the 26th of April. So this is a freeing up of energies as well. This is the day before the perfection of that Mars-Pluto opposition, though. So this degree, it's at 9 degrees of Aries, 9 degrees 35. It was the same degree of that Aries new moon solar eclipse back on the 29th of March, just as Neptune was about to enter Aries. So thinking back to that new moon, okay, Mercury is crossing that degree point again. Okay, so think back to about a month ago, something maybe re-emerging, echoing what was going on then. Mercury in Aries is the quick mind, the fast ideas, the inspired mindset, and the desire to act on your thoughts. Now, you may feel freer to do so, bearing in mind that we do have that Mars-Pluto opposition in play, which is that stuck energy, remember. So this may be adding to like the quick words, the argumentativeness, even the bossiness here. It's kind of fuel on the fire of reactivity here. But positively, your mindset in terms of moving forward can shift here. This is having a brave mindset, a bright mindset. This is the time to maybe try out those ideas. And your identity mindset, so this is Mercury in Aries, how you mentally associate things, people, ways of being to yourself, how you identify yourself consciously. This could now feel a bit clearer or more certain now that Mercury is out of that retrograde zone. Until the 30th of June, when he enters his next retrograde zone in Leo. So this is the time to book, do, go, act. Now that you've had that retrograde to think about, plan, take your time, have more understanding about what plans and initiative you want to go for now. Do mind your words in this period because sparks can fly with all of that background tension that we have as well. So on that note, I'll leave you with some parting words. Now, just staying sovereign, staying solid, trusting your higher self and holding compassion and love will be very useful in this time frame. So I hope you benefit from these intense energies. Just before I go, I am just getting that highly pressurized systems can be stupendously creative. I mean, high pressure creates diamonds. You know, that's that Pluto. And time and effort with the Taurus energy here can create pearls. Pluto here says that there are precious gems to be found in this process. Now, Mars in Leo is creative. Pluto in Aquarius gives you the deepest scope in which to draw your resources, and you can turn this energy to work for you. So reductively, I'll just say there is no good and bad energy. There is only what you do with that energy. We have an opportunity here to utilize the power of Pluto, the creativity of Mars, and the high love of Venus to formulate your next steps to bring you empowerment, passion, and love. So hold fast, my friends. Thank you once again for being here. It is always such a joy and a privilege. I look forward to seeing you in my next podcast video, and ciao for now.